In this video, we'll learn how to handle missing data in social network analysis. Since network data include the data of both nodes and ties, missing network data means the data on some nodes or ties are missing. What are the causes of missing data in social network analysis? There are three major ones: boundary specification problem, inaccurate information such as survey inaccurate responses or non-response, and fixed choice effect caused by researchers censoring the networks by node degree. First, boundary specification refers to specifying inclusion criteria for nodes or ties. How do you define nodes or ties in your social network analysis research? We talk about three major approaches to specify networks in the previous video on research design of social network analysis research. Those three approaches are exogenously defined boundary, relationally defined boundary, methodologically defined boundary. If you study your social networks, do you define the ties as close friendship or acquaintance ties, that is, knowing people by their first name? Different inclusion criteria in data collection generate different networks. If you focus on the close friendship ties, you assume that the acquaintance ties don't have an impact on the social networks under the study. But according to the theory of strength of weak ties, that assumption may not hold. So your specification of network boundaries leads to missing data. Another example is Biermann's study of romantic and sexual networks of high school students. To study the diffusion of sexually transmitted diseases, researchers went to a large urban high school. Part of the data collection process was to conduct an in-home interview of the students. About 83% of the students in that school were interviewed. In the interview, students were asked if they were in or had been involved in a special romantic relationship at some point during the past 18 months. Adolescents in such relationships were asked to describe their three most recent relationships, including any current relationships. Moreover, students were asked to identify up to 3 individuals with whom they had a non-romantic sexual relationship in the past 18 months. A non-romantic sexual relationship was defined by researchers as a relationship involving sexual intercourse that the respondent did not identify as special, or in which the partners did not kiss, hold hands, or say that they liked each other. In this study, more than half of the ties connected the nodes who did not attend that school. In fact, one node that connected to 2 girls in the school was 39 years old, but the network reported by the authors only included 573 students in the school. By focusing on the in-school network, the authors excluded the effect about 60% of out-of-school ties on the spread of STDs. Missing data caused by the boundary specification problem is inherent in social network analysis. To conduct network analysis, researchers have to provide an arbitrary definition of network boundaries. Some networks are difficult to define. For example, if you are interested in social movements or how ideas spread, there is no standardized principle that you can follow to specify the network boundaries. Meanwhile, specified network boundaries also inherently excludes some nodes and ties out of the networks under study, thereby leading to missing data. The second cause of missing data is inaccurate information. If you use interviews or survey instruments to collect network data, The collected data are subject to how much social interactions people can remember rather than the actual social interactions. There are techniques you can use to reduce research participants' cognitive load. Still, your research participants may not be able to recall all the social interactions you'd like to study. If the ties you want to study are not reciprocal, you would not be able to get a replacement of the missing data from the other node's nomination. You will end up with missing data. Inaccurate information can also come from survey non-response. Imagine one research participant had many ties in the network but did not respond to the social network survey. The missing data from this research participant may distort the results of social network analysis. In addition, inaccurate information can come from the presence of the unknowns. Nodes with false identities and hidden or dormant ties can also lead to inaccurate information. Email exchanges may be deleted. Meeting attendance data may be confidential. You'll run into this type of inaccurate information if you study networks on social media or criminal networks. The third cause of missing data is fixed choice effect. For example, you want to study a friendship network in which every node may have anywhere between 1 to 10 friends. You ask your research participants to make nominations only up to some fixed number. Here are two options. In option A, you ask the participants to write down up to 3 best friends. You use the data to create network A. In option B, you ask the participants to write down up to 10 best friends. You use the data to create network B. Obviously, network A has more missing data than network B. Although network B has more data, it may still have missing data because the network can still be different from the actual friendship network. How to handle missing data in social network analysis. One popular way is to make an estimate based on the available data and imputation. When it comes to imputation, there are different procedures. You can impute the unconditional mean. This means you calculate the average tie strength of the available data and then use the average tie value for imputation. This is a crude way of imputations. Moreover, you can do imputations by reconstructing the missing part of the data. You can also do imputations by using preferential attachment. Preferential attachment assumes that the probability of a node will form a tie to another node is dependent on the connectivity of other ties. To do imputation by using preferential attachment, we assume that the probability of a missing node connected to node A is proportional to the degree of node A. You can also do hot deck imputation. This is a method for handling missing data in which each missing value is replaced with an observed response for a similar unit. In social network analysis, you use node attributes and the structural properties of the available data as the reference of imputations. In this video, we talk about the causes of missing data and how to handle missing data in social network analysis.